I'm Rita, and I'm 20 years old. I study at a college in Ohio while my mom lives back in Texas. I live in the dorms and honestly, I prefer it that way. It's been 2 years since Dad died from cancer, and I guess things haven't been the same since then. Mom took it hard at first, but then something weird happened. She started dating. Like, really fast. Too fast, if you ask me. I get that people grieve differently, but it felt wrong to see her posting pictures with different guys on Facebook just months after Dad's funeral. When I'd call her, she wouldn't ask about my classes or my job at the campus bookstore. Instead, she'd go on and on about Mike or Steve or whatever guy she was seeing that month. I started calling less. Then I stopped visiting except for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Even then, only if I absolutely had to. She'd text me sometimes, usually with updates about her love life that I never asked for. Just met this amazing guy at yoga class. Having dinner with Paul tonight, he's taking me to that fancy place downtown. Can't wait for you to meet Jason, he's perfect. I started working extra shifts at the bookstore to have an excuse not to come home. Sorry Mom, I have to work during spring break. Can't make it for Easter, got that big project due. She never pushed it, maybe she was too busy with her new boyfriends to notice I was avoiding her. Last summer, when I finally went home for a week, she spent half the time on phone calls with some guy named Richard. I'd hear her giggling in the kitchen like a teenager. Richard thinks I look 35, she told me once, all proud. She's 48, it was embarrassing. I remember Dad always said Mom was the most beautiful woman in the world. He'd kiss her forehead every morning and call her his beautiful wife. Now she's trying to trick men into thinking she's younger than she is. It makes me sick. The last few months, I've been better at dodging her calls. When she does catch me, the conversation always goes the same way. How's school, Rita? Fine. Working much? Yeah, keeping busy. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I met this wonderful man last week. His name is Michael and he's got the most charming smile. And then I'd zone out until she finished talking. I'd make up some excuse to hang up, homework, roommate emergency, had to call a friend. Anything to get off the phone. I know I should be happy for her, I know she's lonely. But it's like she's erasing Dad. All those years of marriage, all those memories, and now she's acting like a college girl looking for Mr. Right, it's not right. My roommate Sarah thinks I'm being too hard on her. People deal with loss differently, she always says. Maybe dating helps her feel less alone. Maybe, but it doesn't help me feel any better. I've been in college for 2 years now, and in that time, Mom's probably dated at least a dozen guys. Some lasted a few weeks, some a few months. None of them lasted long enough for me to meet them, which is fine by me. I don't want to sit through some awkward dinner where Mom pretends everything's normal while some stranger sits in Dad's chair. Sometimes I wonder if she's forgotten what it was like when Dad was alive. How we'd all watch movies together on Friday nights. How Dad would make his terrible jokes and Mom would laugh anyway. How they'd dance in the kitchen when they thought I wasn't watching. That's the Mom I remember. Not this woman who's constantly searching for the next boyfriend. I've stopped telling her about my life. She doesn't know I got a promotion at the bookstore. She doesn't know I'm thinking about changing my major from business to psychology. She doesn't know I've been going to therapy to deal with Dad's death and her sudden personality change. She's too busy being someone else. So when Christmas rolled around again this year, I almost didn't go home. Almost. But something made me buy a train ticket last minute. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was hope that things would be different this time. Maybe I just missed the idea of what home used to be. I didn't tell her I was coming. Didn't even text. Just bought her some generic candle from the campus bookstore and got on that train. Part of me knew she'd probably have one of her boyfriends over. Part of me didn't care. I just wanted to see if there was any piece of my real mom left in that house. Walking up to Mom's house felt weird. The same yellow front door, the same cracked driveway, but something was different. There were 3 cars parked outside instead of one. I recognized Mom's old Honda, but the other 2 were strangers. A sleek black BMW and an older Buick. I used my key to get in, like I always did. The house smelled like pine and cinnamon, Christmas decorations everywhere. But as soon as I stepped inside, I heard voices from the living room. Multiple voices, my stomach dropped. When I walked in, I saw them. Mom was sitting on the couch next to a guy who looked way younger than her. Like, maybe early 30s? He had his arm around her shoulders. On the other couch sat an older couple, probably in their 70s, all dressed up like they were at a fancy dinner party. Mom's face went white when she saw me, complete shock. The younger guy looked confused, and the older couple just stared at me like I'd broken into their house. The silence felt like it lasted forever. Then Mom jumped up. "Oh," she said, her voice too bright. "Everyone, this is my niece Rita. She came to visit for Christmas." She grabbed my arm, practically dragging me toward the kitchen. "Give us just a minute." She shoved me through the kitchen door and locked it behind us. Her hands were shaking. "What are you doing here?" she whispered harshly. "You didn't call. You didn't text. I wanted to surprise you." "It's Christmas, Mom, what's going on? Who are those people?" "That's Michael," she said, glancing at the door like they might hear us. "He's my fiancé." "Fiancé, when did that happen?" I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. "And those are his parents," she continued. "I invited them for Christmas dinner." "Rita, I need you to understand something. I told him I don't have any children. You can't tell him you're my daughter. He's wealthy, Rita, he's been so good to me. I can't risk losing him now. So what am I supposed to do, pretend to be your niece?" "Please," she begged, "just for tonight and tomorrow. His parents are staying until the 26th. After that, we can figure something out." I wanted to scream. I wanted to walk out right then. But looking at her desperate face, I realized I didn't have much choice. Where would I go on Christmas Eve? All my friends were with their families. The trains probably weren't running full schedules. "Fine," I muttered, "but this is insane, Mom." "Thank you, sweetheart, I owe you." We went back to the living room, me playing the role of the long-lost niece. Michael seemed nice enough, actually. He was attentive to Mom, helped his parents with their drinks, made polite conversation. The older couple, his parents, were formal but pleasant. Dinner was awkward as hell. I had to stop myself from calling her Mom at least 20 times. Every habit, every instinct was to talk to her like I always did. Instead, I had to refer to her as Aunt Linda. It felt wrong coming out of my mouth. Michael talked about his investment firm, his parents discussed their recent cruise, and Mom played her part perfectly. Laughing at the right moments, touching Michael's arm just so, playing the role of a younger woman without children. She'd obviously been practicing this performance for months. After dinner, Michael's parents insisted on cleaning up. I tried to help, but they shooed me away, saying I was a guest. I sat in the living room with Mom and Michael, watching a Christmas movie. The whole time, I kept catching Mom giving me warning looks whenever I opened my mouth. When it was time for bed, that's when things got really uncomfortable. "Rita, I hope you don't mind, but I put Michael's parents in your room," Mom said casually. "You can sleep on the pullout in the living room." My room. The room where I'd slept every night for 18 years. Where Dad used to tuck me in. Where I'd cried after he died. And now it belonged to strangers. "Of course," I said through gritted teeth, "no problem." I lay awake on that pull-out couch, listening to the house settle. This wasn't my home anymore. Mom had turned it into a stage set for her new life. Even my bedroom was just another prop. Christmas morning was a blur of fake smiles and carefully worded conversations. I gave Mom the candle I'd bought, and she acted like it was the most thoughtful gift ever. Michael and his parents had expensive-looking wrapped presents under the tree. I felt like a fraud, sitting there in my pajamas while they all looked picture-perfect. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I made up some excuse about needing to get back to school early for a study group. Mom tried to convince me to stay, but I could see the relief in her eyes when I insisted on leaving. On the train back to campus, I stared out the window at the passing landscape. I'd spent Christmas with my mother and felt more alone than if I'd stayed in my empty dorm room. She'd chosen a lie over our relationship. She'd chosen a stranger over her own daughter. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Thank you for playing along, you're a good daughter." A good daughter, I almost laughed. If I was such a good daughter, why did she feel the need to pretend I didn't exist? 2 weeks later, my phone rang while I was studying for my economics midterm. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated before answering, my finger hovering over the decline button. After Christmas, I wasn't sure I wanted to deal with whatever new drama she had brewing. "Hi, Mom. Rita, sweetheart, I'm calling with some exciting news. Michael and I are getting married." My textbook slipped from my hands. "When?" "In 2 months, we decided on a March wedding. Small ceremony, nothing fancy." I waited for the inevitable catch. With Mom, there was always a catch. That's great, Mom." The words felt like sawdust in my mouth. "There's just one tiny thing," she said, and there it was. "We're keeping it very intimate. Just Michael, his parents, and me, no other guests." "What about me?" Silence on the other end. Then, in a voice that didn't sound like my mother at all, she said, "I can't invite you, Rita. Michael still doesn't know about you. If you show up, it'll ruin everything." "Ruin everything," I repeated slowly. "Your daughter showing up at your wedding would ruin everything." "Please don't be dramatic, you understand the situation. I need to maintain the image I've created." "And what will you tell people?" "Your relatives, Dad's family? They'll notice I'm missing from your wedding photos." "I'm not posting any photos. Michael's not big on social media anyway. And I'm not planning to introduce him to the extended family for a while. It's better this way." "Better for who?" I wanted to scream, but instead, I just sighed heavily. "Do whatever you want, Mom. Don't be like that, this is about my future, my happiness. You're an adult now, you should understand." I hung up, just pressed the end call button and sat there in my dorm room, staring at the economics problems I'd been working on. The numbers blurred together. My roommate Sarah walked in from her afternoon class. "You okay? You look like someone just told you your dog died." "My mom's getting married, I'm not invited." Sarah dropped her backpack. "What? That's insane, why not?" I explained the whole mess, the age lie, the hidden daughter, the Christmas charade. Sarah listened with her mouth getting wider and wider. "Your mom's lost her mind," she said finally. "Who lies about having a kid? That's some serious identity crisis stuff." I shrugged. Maybe she just needs this. Maybe this marriage is her way of starting over completely. But at your expense? Rita, that's not normal. Normal, nothing about my relationship with Mom had been normal since Dad died. This was just the latest chapter in her reinvention tour. The next 2 months passed in a blur. I threw myself into my studies, picked up extra shifts at the bookstore, and tried not to think about Mom planning a wedding I wouldn't attend. Every now and then, she'd text me random things. "Picked out the dress, simple but elegant. Michael's mother is helping with the flowers. Can't wait to be Mrs. Davidson." I stopped responding. What was the point? On the day of the wedding, I found myself scrolling through Mom's Facebook page. No wedding photos, no announcement, nothing. It was like the marriage hadn't happened at all. I checked Instagram, Twitter, even LinkedIn. Complete silence. A week later, still nothing on social media. I almost called her to make sure she'd actually gone through with it, but then caught myself. If she wanted me to know about her life, she'd tell me. Spring semester ended, and suddenly it was May. Summer break was approaching, that time of year when I'd traditionally spend a few weeks at home. But home didn't feel like home anymore. When Mom called a week before my finals, I almost didn't answer. Rita, it's me. I'm actually near your college right now. Can we meet? I need to talk to you in person. My stomach churned. In-person conversations with Mom lately meant bad news. Okay, there's a cafe on Main Street called the Bean Counter. I got there first, ordered a coffee I didn't really want, and waited. Mom showed up 15 minutes later, looking nervous. She'd lost weight. Her wedding ring glinted on her finger, a simple gold band I'd never seen before. You got married, I said when she sat down. Yes, it was beautiful, small, like I said. Good for you. She fidgeted with her coffee cup. Rita, I need to ask you something. I need you not to come home this summer. The cafe suddenly felt too small, too hot. What? I haven't figured out how to tell Michael about you, about everything. And summer holiday means you'd be home for weeks. I need more time to work this out. I stared at her, really looked at her. She seemed smaller somehow, like the lies were physically shrinking her. So what are you saying, we're on a break? Like a relationship break? Just temporary, until I figure things out. And if you don't figure things out? What if you decide it's easier to just keep lying? She didn't answer, that was answer enough. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. You're choosing him over me. Rita, please. No, Mom, I asked you a question. Are you choosing your new husband over your daughter? She looked at me then, really looked at me, and for a second I thought she might come to her senses. Then she said, yes, I'm sorry, but yes, I love him, Rita. And I don't know if I love you the same way anymore. The words hit me like a physical blow. I grabbed my backpack, threw a $5 bill on the table for my coffee, and walked out. I didn't look back. That night, I blocked her number, unfollowed her on all social media, and deleted every photo of her from my phone. If she wanted to erase me from her life, I'd make it easier for her. She could pretend I never existed. I spent that summer at Sarah's family's lake house. Her parents treated me like their own daughter, probably because Sarah had told them what happened. They didn't ask questions, just made sure I had enough sunscreen and someone to talk to if I needed it. 3 years. That's how long it took for me to finish college, graduate with honors in psychology, find a decent job at a community mental health center, and rent my own apartment in Columbus. 3 years of building a life without my mother in it. 3 years of silence. I'd convinced myself I was better off. Therapy helped. So did my job, where I watched other families navigate their own dysfunctions. Compared to some of the stories I heard, my situation didn't seem so bad. A mother who chose a man over her daughter? At least she wasn't abusive or addicted, just absent. My apartment was small but mine. 1 bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and a living room that doubled as my office. I'd furnished it with second-hand finds and IKEA purchases. No family photos on the walls, except one of Dad and me from when I was 10. He's teaching me to ride a bike, both of us grinning like idiots. That's the only connection to my past I allowed myself. The call came on a random Tuesday in October. I was making dinner, ramen with an egg, fancy for me, when my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize but the area code looked familiar. Something made me answer instead of letting it go to voicemail. Rita, it's Aunt Joyce. Mom's cousin. I hadn't spoken to her since. I couldn't even remember when, years before Dad died. Oh, hi Aunt Joyce, this is unexpected. She sounded uncomfortable. I'm sorry to bother you, honey. I tried to reach your mother first, but, well, she called me a few weeks ago asking for money. Said she had big debts, some kind of financial trouble. I couldn't help her, I don't have that kind of money myself. But I've been worried about her. My stomach twisted. I wouldn't know anything about that. Mom and I haven't talked in 3 years. The silence on the other end was heavy. 3 years? But you're her daughter. I gave her the abbreviated version, the lies, the secret marriage, the ultimatum at the cafe. Joyce listened without interrupting, occasionally making small sounds of disbelief. I had no idea, she said finally. I'm so sorry, Rita. That's not the Linda I grew up with. After we hung up, I tried to push the conversation out of my mind. Mom's problems weren't my problems anymore. I'd made that choice 3 years ago, walking out of that cafe. But something nagged at me. The money request. The desperation Joyce had heard in Mom's voice. 2 weeks later, my phone rang again. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Rita, Mom's voice. Older, tired, but unmistakably hers. My first instinct was to hang up immediately. Instead, I stayed silent. Please don't hang up, I need to talk to you. Can we meet, just for coffee? I thought about saying no. About hanging up and blocking this number too. But something in her voice, a brokenness I'd never heard before, made me pause. Not at my apartment, there's a cafe downtown called Rusty's, tomorrow at 3. When I saw her the next day, the change shocked me. Mom looked like she'd aged a decade in 3 years. Her hair had gray streaks I hadn't noticed before, and her clothes, designer brands she'd always favored, looked worn and dated. She sat with her shoulders hunched, clutching a coffee cup like it was keeping her warm. You look good, independent, like an adult. She managed a weak smile. I'm proud of you. Save it, what do you want? She took a deep breath. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry about everything. About Christmas, about the wedding, about choosing Michael over you. You were right about everything. I waited, there had to be more. Michael, he tricked me. All those loans I took out in my name, he said they were for his business. Investment opportunities. He had all these documents, projections, everything looked legitimate. But it was all fake, the money was going to his girlfriend. My eyebrows shot up. Girlfriend? She's 22, lives in Florida. He'd been with her for over a year before he even met me. I found out 6 months ago. He took the money and ran, literally. Left me with $180,000 in debt. The number stunned me. How is that even possible? Multiple loans. Personal loans, home equity, credit cards. The banks are threatening foreclosure. I could lose the house. Dad's house, the house I grew up in, where he spent his last days. Where Mom had entertained boyfriends while I was away at college. Where she'd hosted fake Christmas dinners to fool her young husband. Why are you telling me this? I need help, Rita. I need to pay off some of these loans or they'll take everything. I've applied for jobs, but at my age, with this much debt, it's hard. I've already had to sell my car, most of my jewelry. I'm living on credit cards. I felt something I hadn't expected, not pity, exactly, but a kind of sad recognition. Here was my mother, destroyed by the very lie she'd created. The young wife facade had attracted exactly the kind of man who would exploit a woman trying to turn back time. I can't help you, Mom, even if I wanted to. I don't have that kind of money. And honestly? After what you did to me, I wouldn't help you even if I did. I left her there in the cafe, crying into her cold coffee. Over the next few weeks, she called and texted constantly. At first asking for money, then demanding it, then threatening me. She said I'd regret not helping her. That I was responsible for her losing the house. That I was a terrible daughter who didn't care if her mother ended up on the street. I saved every message, every voicemail. Finally, I'd had enough. I consulted with a lawyer who helped me draft a cease and desist letter. I sent it to her email address, warning her about harassment laws and potential consequences if she continued contacting me. The thread stopped. For a while, there was silence. 3 months later, Aunt Joyce called again. She'd heard through the family grapevine that Mom had indeed lost the house. The bank had foreclosed, and she was now living in a 1-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. Joyce had tried to check on her, but Mom wouldn't return her calls either. I told Joyce the whole story then, the debt, the threats, the restraining order. She was shocked but supportive. You did the right thing, she said. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Now I live my life without my mother in it. Most days, I don't think about her at all. I focus on my job, helping other people navigate their family traumas. I date occasionally, nothing serious yet, but I'm open to the possibility. I've learned what healthy relationships look like, and more importantly, what they don't look like. Sometimes I drive past our old neighborhood, but I never go down our street. I wonder if new people live in the house now, if they know its history. I wonder if they've repainted Dad's office, if they've ripped out the garden Mom spent so many weekends tending. I don't know where she lives now, or how she's managing. She might have family helping her, or she might be truly alone. Part of me, a very small part, feels guilty for not helping. But then I remember the Christmas charade, the cafe conversation where she chose a lie over her own daughter, and the guilt fades. The truth is, I lost my mother the day Dad died. Not because he was gone, but because she decided to become someone else entirely. Someone who could lie about her age, hide her daughter's existence, and fall for a con man's promise of wealth and youth. I still have that photo of Dad and me with the bike. Sometimes I look at it and wonder what he'd say if he knew everything that happened after he was gone. I like to think he'd be proud of me for standing up for myself, for not enabling Mom's destructive choices. Maybe someday Mom will find her way back to the person she used to be. Maybe someday she'll call not because she needs something, but because she genuinely wants to rebuild our relationship. Maybe someday we'll have coffee again, and she'll be my real mother instead of the desperate stranger she became. But until then, I'm building my own life, making my own choices, and learning that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their actions. Even if that person is your mother. Even if that person is family. Because family shouldn't mean accepting lies, manipulation, and emotional abandonment. Family should mean honesty, support, and unconditional love. Mom forgot that, I haven't. And that's why I still have Dad's photo on my wall, and why I sleep peacefully at night knowing I made the right choice.